There's a program running for children, for sort of families with obese children. Not obese children, families with obese children. Key difference in some of the other. So we're working with that particular group to try and engage those particular those families with their children to try and pick up the message about the perception of overweight, about how to manage food, how to manage activity into your lifestyle. And there's been some real success, but it's a very expensive program because there's a lot of particular skills you need to deliver a very successful obesity management program. That's one example. Another example, and my specialist area is children, by the way. Another example. Are you aware of the Nintendo Wii?
Yeah, sure.
Nintendo Wii. In Liverpool, there's a company in Liverpool called New Concept Gaming. I'm not selling this sort of stuff. No interest in the company at all. And they've got a system called the JOG system, and we've been looking at why some children aren't active and who are they. So the JOG system is you have like a pedometer infrared on your waist. You plug a USB into the back of your PlayStation, and when you play a game, usually there's a D button, and you've got to move the player. I'm hopeless at this. Okay, move the player really quick by flicking this button. This system overrides the D button, and to move the player, you actually have to jog on the spot. Now, okay, it's maybe a little bit of a gimmick. It's great in the winter when children go outside in our country. That's the first thing. Second, some children who aren't very good at sport become very good at this. And third, we're now introducing that into sports centres, and children now go into sports centres. And we have some evidence where they start playing Wii tennis, for example, and they might move on to playing recreational tennis. So we're trying to use technologies as well to do this. And the third thing is, I spoke about the neighbourhood delivery program. We're trying to get to that level where we're trying to find out what does that neighbourhood really need. The data that I showed earlier on in Liverpool, we have one neighbourhood that's really inactive. Clearly we need to look at that neighbourhood. 14.2% of the population meeting the activity criteria we set. It's really low. And so we're trying to engage the fire service, the police station, the GPs, community centres, all involved in the management of that neighbourhood with an aim to increase activity and other things, of course, but activity would be one of them. So yes, we are. And one final thing, in the UK have a National Institute for Health and Clinical Excellence. And they provide guidance on physical activity. It's called NICE. There are 4 sets of guidance on physical activity. There's one on the workplace, one on the environment, one on certain types of programs, and one on children. I chaired the children's program. And in all those sets of guidance, there's recommendations about how to access or how to get at inactive communities or inactive people. But that's just guidance. It doesn't tell you how to do it. So it gives you some kind of effectiveness.
Well, you see, this it's very important to know that there is just this Liverpool active city strategy is there available. So I think it's there on the internet, and so I think there is a lot of this practical program. So from my point of view, my one question, you see, it is really interesting and fine to have university people coming here from Liverpool. So because I think this is really good approach. So actually, when we talk about money, so are those how much you have gotten, you see, money or what, so that you can do this work, the connection of this active city program. So what is the finance or the connection between the financing of this follow-up studies and so on?
How is the research financed, or how is the program financed?
So how this resources got when you do this in the university? So how is it related to this?
Yeah, we would make a bid to Liverpool to evaluate their programs, and they would pay us some money to do that.
But means some money.
It's about it's probably about 5% of the total budget, so about £90,000.
Yes, in Finnish terms, I think that's the University of Jyväskylä. So how I think it's a lot of learn here for us. So
yes, thank you very much. Very interesting and two important data. I come back to the inactives and two things. The inactive part of the population is not a certain entity in the population like we think. but the inactives are dispersed in all population groups actually, and that makes it a little bit more difficult than you think first. But then in the social deprived groups where inactivity is highest in all countries, one approach might be that you don't sell physical activity as such so much, but you try to find the values and the values the people have for that activity, like the Liverpool women. It may not be physical activity as such at all, but it may be connection to others, it may be different kinds of things, so that having clever social marketing techniques or tactics where the win-win situation is tried to find out and played the game on that basis, that's probably more efficient than to try to sell physical activity as such. And I think it's one of the weaknesses of the physical activity people that we are so, especially sports people, that they are just selling the sports, and it doesn't tell anything to some people. But values through sports can mean something.
Yes, Wolfgang.
Well, I would just like, first of all, to comment what Ilka is saying. Coming from Germany, where the term sport indeed is in the center of people thinking, and then taking into account certain marketing aspects, I think we have indeed to go a long way if we try to activate non-active people by not using the word sport. Well, sport has some certain value in Germany, you see. Physical activity is nothing, even though I know we do need this concept. But sport has this long tradition as a semantics. And I'm only saying this, I have no solution right now, but we have to put this, Jorma, on our list when we are talking about an international program, where people have different understanding of terms like sport and physical activity. But physical activity in Germany, literally translated, has no reputation, no image at all, which is wrong. Which it turns out many people who are doing their best for their personal activity and fitness, but they are not judged to be sport women or sportmen, and they have a lower reputation, so to say. But another point for me turns out to be very important. When you mentioned, what about obesity? In my mind, it now starts, if we are looking for the USP of this program or concept we are looking for, the unique selling point, isn't it much more getting the inactive active than getting the active less obese or fighting obesity? I should say, if we are only concentrating of fighting obesity in a given community, it might be too a narrow approach. If we are concentrating on getting the non-active active, like for example Muslim women, maybe this is a more comprehensive, the wider range, the more international range. I mean, if I go around in Helsinki, it's probably hard to come across a Muslim woman. I don't know, I have to check this afternoon. In Frankfurt, you also have whole communities, I would sometimes even say little ghettos, where only Muslim people are living. And we have just published findings of a German investigation which clearly support what you are saying. I think 3/4 of Muslim girls and young women would fancy to do sports and physical activity, but they have no opportunity. German sport clubs very seldomly offer this sort of thing. So there is a great discrepancy between the proven wish and intention of Muslim young girls and young women and the reality in Germany. But what I'm saying is, isn't this part of the idea, if we are looking for a major subtitle, to make the inactive active? Isn't it more important than fighting obesity? which is a luxury problem in a way. You see, when we are looking at it from a global, from an international standpoint.
Well, this you see, time begins to cross us. So, but Ilkka, perhaps you have something to say that then.
I would say that the obesity as an argument for physical activities is a risky term because there is so much speaking about obesity that people get tired. And for instance, our main newspaper made quite a mistake by having a large campaign fight against obese. And it actually more or less failed because it makes people guilty, to feel guilty. And therefore it's not completely it's not a very good argument for physical activity, starting from negative aspects and making part of the population to feel guilty and
Dramatic,
yeah. So it's difficult to get around, but that's something which we should think here. And the extension of this is that that good terms, good expressions are extremely valuable in any area. And for instance, in Finland we have a word for physical activity which is between physical activity and sport, and it's liikunta. And it's not the same word in any other language. It's about movement, or it's motion in Swedish. But every Finn understands what liikunta means. So it has, so to say, smoothed the road to this kind of approach. We don't have to use sport for all at all. We have never used sport for all. And we can then coin the liikunta by saying kuntoliikunta, fitness physical activity, or terveysliikunta, health physical activity. And those have been very, very helpful in selling liikunta or movement physical activity to the Finnish population and Finnish politicians also. No problems with sport. Sport is urheilu, it's completely different. So trying to find good expressions, good terms is really valuable task, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure that this terminology is something very special. All right, thanks once again for